on August the 31st. He's going to have everything to himself. There'll be no other games on August the 31st except South Carolina and Virginia Tech at 3 o'clock. There'll be a game Miami-Notre Dame that night. But on August the 31st, at that 3 o'clock window, if you're craving a little football and you live in the Midwest or you live out west or wherever you might, maybe you're in Florida or New York and you're not necessarily paying attention to the University of South Carolina, you know what? South Carolina's the only game that day at 3 o'clock. Again, Miami-Notre Dame that night at about 7:30. But if you want to watch football, you're going to be able to tune in. And you tune in and you see Lenore Sellers and he's running all over Virginia Tech or he's doing whatever, hopefully in a good fashion. You go, wow, that's an interesting kid. That's an interesting player. Maybe Dylan Stewart is tearing up the Virginia Tech defensive line and having 6, 7, 8, an unrealistic number, but sacks. And you've got Nick Harbor maybe showing out. Maybe it's, maybe it's Jared Brown. Maybe it could be, name a guy. Maybe it's Lex Cyrus. Maybe it's Brian Rowe. But if you showcase your program on that day, a lot of people will take notice. The thing is and then that can jumpstart people to go, now, I see South Carolina's playing at 3:30. I see South Carolina's playing at 7. Let me flip over and watch that. I want to see the South Carolina LSU game. I know a little bit more about South Carolina. And the point being is this is a showcase year for the University of South Carolina, for the football program, for Shane Beamer. I started the week when Tyler and I talked, and I was like, I don't know if there's as much pressure as on Shane Beamer as maybe I would think. And then as I started talking about it, and it kind of started to dawn on me, I was like, no, there's, again, not pressure in terms of Shane Beamer getting fired. He's perfectly on the nice and cool seat. We'll talk hot seats later on. But his seat, nice and cool. He's done a very good job building this program through the first 4 years. But this is the one that can take you into the stratosphere, not necessarily just by going to the playoff. Obviously, that would be huge. That would put you in a different kind of vibe, a different kind of tier for the University of South Carolina. But this is the one where you build off of your great players, where we know locally, we know Shane Beamer and the culture that he's created and what his players say about him. You do this and it becomes more of a national story, more of the kind of story where recruits in particular look at South Carolina and go, man, that looks really fun to be a part of that program. That looks really fun to go and be around everybody there. I want to go do that. I at least want to go visit and check them out. And then all you can do in recruiting is get guys on campus. So the Rasul Faison news, you need this guy. I know one of our texters the other day said, I got faith in the other 4 guys to come in and be RB number 1. One of them certainly could do that. Nobody's saying differently. However, none of them have proven to do that. And boy, going into a year again like this, where, South Carolina will probably be an underdog to LSU. I know in one of the early big game lines, again, from someone like Brian Edwards, who I do really like, it had Alabama as a favorite over South Carolina. It had Clemson as a favorite. But you're not going to be a huge underdog as we sit here right now with everybody, from what I assume to be healthy. You're not going to be a huge underdog in any game. There's no game on that schedule. And I don't know the last time we could say something like this. I don't know the last time we could say, I don't know if we've ever been able to say this. I guess maybe one of the 3 Spurrier years. There is no game on that schedule that South Carolina cannot win. And aside from Gamecock Larry, RIP to Gamecock Larry, aside from Gamecock Larry, I don't know if anybody ever really thought that way. There were times you probably looked at it and be like, Alabama on the road? Okay, chalk that one to an L. Clemson up there? Okay, chalk that to an L. Woo, look at that. Georgia at home? Can't get that one. But maybe we can win the other 8 or 9. I think if you're being realistic, there's not a game on this schedule this year that South Carolina cannot win. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you they're going to go 12-0. But what I mean is you've got a chance to really elevate this program. And part of that, again, comes back to Rasul Faison and the potential news or when that comes down of what is going on with him. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll take a little dive into Virginia Tech, see what you know about them, see what I know about them, and we'll also talk some SEC Media Days. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Captain David Ayer. It is the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions, where right now they know they're not just maintaining your pool, they are maintaining your lifestyle. Let's be honest, at Corley Pool Solutions, they know that that pool is important. You want to keep it free of algae. You want to make sure that everything is clean. And at Corley Pool Solutions, it's actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper to keep your pool maintained with Corley Pool Solutions than it is for you to go to a pool store and try it to do it yourself. So give them a phone call and line up your maintenance. 803-445-8109. Again, 803-445-8109. That's how you can reach out to Tracy Corley. With over 20 years of experience in the pool maintaining industry, he knows how to keep that pool nice, looking beautiful, and ready to help your cookouts or even just going home and jumping in the back of the pool. So give him a phone call and line up your maintenance. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions. 2 years. Michigan and Washington in 2023, and obviously Ohio State and Notre Dame. I don't mean just, remember, I don't just mean, oh, the SEC hasn't won a national championship. That's one thing. The last 2 years, the SEC has not had a team in the college football championship. And then you go all the way back, 3 years ago, I believe. Am I right on this? No, I'm questioning myself. You go back 3 years, and it was Georgia and TCU and that profound whipping that took place. So, again, 803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in if you want to do so this morning. We'll come back. There's an article on CBS Sports. I want your opinion on this. I want your opinion. 803-404-6100. Article out from the USA Today ranking the top 16 venues in the SEC. Where does South Carolina stand? I'll tell you that, and we'll compare and contrast with a few other teams. You're listening to The Halftime Show. 12:33 on a Friday afternoon. There we go. We got that whole sentence correct. We're moving in the right direction. Bill Gunner, Captain David Dare, Tyler Head, getting this particular 3-hour set off as we said, hey, you got to do 6 to 12 today. And he handled it, did a phenomenal job, and he will be with us live. He will be with me live all next week, but he will be in Atlanta covering everything. We got a list of great guests we're excited to speak with and go from there. So be ready for next week. Like I said, there's reasons to tune in, and there's reasons not to. There's tons of reasons to listen to us. We got all kinds of crazy stuff to discuss, football and whatever else. But there's reasons to go on SEC Network and watch. Maybe it's just for one of your coaches. A couple people texting in, and texter said, I agree. I don't find Lane Kiffin's dialogue super interesting. And trust me, I have tried to spend time listening to him. Yeah, Lane Kiffin is a perfect example of SEC Media Day because you're looking like, oh, Lane Kiffin's going to speak on, I forget what day it is, but like on Tuesday. That's going to be great. I look forward to that. He's going to say something quirky, and he's going to take shots at people. And then he gets up there very monotoned and kind of almost like he's embarrassed of the spot. Lane Kiffin's actually that kid that won't say anything to you in the schoolyard, but goes home and gets on the computer and has no problem running his mouth at that point when there's a wide area of internet between you to go along with computers. So, but we'll see. We'll see what he says. Again, won't find him, likely won't find him very interesting. Another texter weighs in. Nick says he's very interested in hearing about next year's schedule and playoff format. And I'm with you on that. Sankey thinks he's running the whole thing. So, yeah, what he has to say about the 2027 schedule, which we assume that we're going to see this thing go back to, well, not go back to, but you're going to see the rotation, the flip of the teams. And at this point, you would have the one permanent opponent. Most people seem to think South Carolina, Kentucky would be that permanent opponent. Good Lord, please don't keep making us play this Mayor's Cup with Missouri. And we'll talk more rivalries here in a little while as well. But with that being said, you will flip to the other one permanent and 7 other teams that you haven't played. For example, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Auburn. That's 6. Kentucky would be 7. And come on, Gunner, put it together very quickly here and pick out number 8. That would be Mississippi State. That would be your 8 right there. So 7 new teams on the schedule. That's at least the belief that it is what it will become. And hopefully, that's a good point, Nick. Hopefully we'll hear more about next year's schedule. Beth weighs in this afternoon and says, is it possible Faison already knows and the news is not what he wanted? I don't think so. I can't say you're wrong on that. I can't say that that's not plausible, but it feels like one of those things that South Carolina would announce to kind of spark a rallying cry, if you will, to get into, to try and put a little more pressure on the NCAA. But that is, I'm not going to say it's not. Who knows? I guess Rasul Faison and the NCAA know. Shane Beamer knows, the people down there. But I don't think that there's an announcement. I think that would leak out. Somebody would know that, and they would try to put a little pressure for an appeal. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on any of that. USA Today. USA Today has an article that came out, and it is the SEC College Football Stadiums Rankings. Now, this, again, is off of USA Today, so maybe a little more legitimate. It comes from Blake Topmeyer. I have been, for the record, to all but Missouri and Arkansas, Texas, and Oklahoma. All right, those are the 4. So I can vouch for the other 12 teams in the league. I can't vouch for any of those 4. But let's give these to you here. This is, again, USA Today's article on ranking the SEC stadiums here. And not only it says, basically, this is covering the volume, basically the passion, everything like that. Article actually says that in the South, football is religion, and Saturday is a holy day. Come holy day, tens of thousands of believers gather at SEC cathedrals far and wide, 100,000 strong at some venues, and they'll scream bloody murder when the opposing quarterback goes behind center. So let's go through some of these rankings here, and what do you think? All right, number 1, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Florida. I depending on how you feel about it, and I think what's important here is a game that you've been to, because there's some games that are lame and there's some games that are great. I will say this for Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. I would not have Florida number 1. I wouldn't have them close. The only reason I even consider Florida at number 1 is because I was there in 2006 for the was that Jarvis Moss who got so high he was able to. You can take that either way you want. Got so high he was able to block the kick that stopped the Gamecocks from winning 2 straight and propelled Florida on to winning the national championship. A game in which, again, I'll never forget. Later on, after rewatching the game, Gary Daniels said that Steve Spurrier called one of the best drives he'd ever seen in college football. Gamecocks had a great opportunity to pull out the victory there, and of course Jarvis Moss again jumps really high and did other things high that allowed him to block that kick. I think he was suspended the next week for the game. Anyway, but that was loud. And if I was to rank the loudest stadiums I've been in, it would be Florida 1, it would be South Carolina number 2, and it would be LSU number 3. And really, I could go, I don't like doing 2A and 2B. I don't like having a tie. But I'd probably go South Carolina and LSU. And South Carolina, again, I've been to more games, so I can probably take a little bit more experiences away. So maybe I just bump LSU up to 2 and move South Carolina to 3. But Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in 2006 was the loudest stadium I have ever been in when that kick got blocked. It is one of the first times I can never hear myself talk. And as y'all are well aware, I do talking for a living, so generally I annoy myself. But on that afternoon there in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, so okay, you want to go with that? Fine, whatever. That would not be. My number 1 would be LSU. LSU, I've seen some stuff. I've been there 3 times. The game in 2002, Nick Saban was coaching. South Carolina got out to a 14-3 lead. James Atkinson dropped a long pass down the right sideline right before halftime. If he catches that, South Carolina probably goes up 21-3. Second half, LSU got going. They picked off a Corey Jenkins pass and ran it back for a touchdown. And I remember in that stadium at that time, and that was the loudest stadium I'd ever been in at that time, and that included the Eric Cameron to Jamel Kelly pass. But that was the loudest in 2002, loudest stadium I'd ever been in. They went nuts, and they started playing neck, and it was just insane. And I actually remember coming back in 2002 to South Carolina from that game thinking, this is boring here. That was college football. And then South Carolina started winning more and more and more, and things changed. But LSU was a wild environment. It's just an absolute wild environment. I'd have them as my number 1 most difficult place to play. Again, CBS Sports, this is their ranking of the top 16 teams. Number 3 on their list is Neyland Stadium. Neyland's good. I wouldn't have them top 3. Number 4 is Bryant-Denny. I'd have Bryant-Denny maybe outside of the top 12. I've been to Bryant-Denny in 2000. I went again in 2009, the Mark Ingram game. I went this past year. I feel like I'm missing one. I've never seen Bryant-Denny as a loud, obnoxious, look out where you're at kind of place. It is and they win a lot. They win a lot, so it's totally understandable. 04, the Savell Newton game that we beat them. So 01, 04, 09, and this past year is the times I've been to Alabama. So I've been a good bit. And again, that place is not intimidating. And you want to know even a worse way to phrase it? I have no problem taking my son there. And he was 13. I was like, yeah, we'll go to Alabama this year. I'm not worried about, if we go to Clemson, if we go to Georgia, if we go to Florida, if we go to a couple other places, Auburn. I'm worried about what you might see and what you might hear. Alabama was like, yeah, you're fine. They're not going to harass us. They're not going to bother us. They're real nice. Them and Texas A&M, by the way, maybe the 2 nicest fan bases out there, but that place is not intimidating at all. Sanford Stadium in Georgia, I'll put that place up there as one of the top 5 or 6 here in the league. Again, not Bryant-Denny, but Sanford Stadium, I've seen some stuff again. I've seen the students throwing mini bottles at South Carolina fans. I've seen the guy beat up. I've seen a fight between South Carolina and Georgia. And not like, oh, you're not nice, let me slap you. Like punches thrown over top of a child. Sanford Stadium, and that's kind of how I base this on is like, what do you rate your safety when you go there to A, tailgate, and B, to hang around and watch the game? Like, what is your safety? So my top 4 right now, the one of them I didn't mention, well, I don't know if I should. I don't know if I'm rating it on safety. So we'll say safety is good at South Carolina. But I would have LSU at 1. I would actually have Georgia at 2. I'd have South Carolina at 3. And then I would actually have Florida at 4 because I was there. I've been there when it was really, really loud. If you want to continue through these rankings a little bit, and then I'll ask you a little off-the-wall question. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Captain David Adair. It is the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and it's that proven history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide the proper advice, the service, and most importantly, the results you need to your facility. So give them a phone call today, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are there to help you. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. That's how you can reach them. And again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You give them a phone call off hours, they'll have a Mid-State Roofing, an on-call technician ready to help you with the phone call. If you give them a phone call during hours, it's a Mid-State Roofing employee, and they want to help you with a maintenance contract. So again, from high-rises to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep that operation dry and running long into the future. Give them a phone call today and tell them Bill Gunter sent you. 803-356-1919. 12:47 as we wrap up our number one on your Friday, first week of the all-new, brand new era, however you want to phrase it, of the halftime show. Tyler Head, myself, Captain David Ayer. Tyler already putting in 6 hours today, so that was his day, and now you get me and Captain David Ayer. Coming up in the next hour, Hale McGranahan will join us, and we'll talk about the recruiting weeks, the next 2 weeks in particular that are coming up for the Gamecocks, and also talk about a couple of guys that are expected to announce later. But again, later tonight, 7:30, it'll be Samari Smoke Matthews who will make his announcement, and it'll either be the Gamecocks or the Longhorns unless something pops up we completely have all missed. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. A couple of y'all did that. Brad says, I was there for the Jarvis Moss game as well. It was insane. That being said, 2012 Georgia game at Willie B was louder. I'm with you. The thing about comparing South Carolina to any other school in this little situation, Brad, you're probably like me. We've been to a bunch of South Carolina games. I mean, again, I'm comparing one game. Look, there have been some games at Florida that I've been to. Well, in particular, the 2010 game where South Carolina clinched the East. That was a quiet stadium. Granted, they were getting their rear end whipped all night by Marcus Lattimore and Steven Garcia, and Garcia's running over, I can't remember the safety's name in the end zone. I mean, they were getting pummeled, and they were in their all blue, and that was after they ran the opening kickoff back, and so that's typically going to be a quiet stadium. And then, of course, I also went in 2008, so I went 3 straight road games there. 06. No, I went 04. I went 04 when Lou Holtz, that was his final season, and I remember being a very dumb college kid. Still a dumb adult, but dumb college kid. A little bit of a change. Walking to the stadium after tailgating and telling Florida, I was that kid. I was that guy. I was that college student. Walking to the stadium in 04, telling Florida fans, first we're going to beat you, and then we're going to take your old coach, which was Steve Spurrier. At least I got one of those two right, but that was a 48-7 drubbing that occurred in 04. So, but I'm with you. The 2012 Georgia game at Williams-Brice was definitely louder. Sean says, went to Auburn back-to-back years. Went to Auburn. went to Auburn back-to-back years when South Carolina and Clemson played while they had Cam Newton. Loudest stadium I've ever been in. And that's from old buddy Clemson Sean. Hadn't heard from him in a long time. Glad to hear from you. Let's go out to the phone lines. 803-404-6100. Mark wants to weigh in. Mark, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm making it. Barely right now, but I'm making it.
Well, I can tell. I mean, no offense, but I can tell. But you're doing good. You're doing good, Gunner. I've got two, actually. Back in '83, we played Southern Cal. Man, that stadium was loud. I'm going to tell you. It was really loud. Joe Mo said, if it ain't swaying, we ain't playing, you know. So I got that one. And the other one I have is the Eric Kimry fade game. I think that's the loudest stadium I ever sat in as a fan. You know, it was ridiculous. I mean, we did not cut our voices through the timeout. So they went to a TV timeout, which was, 3 minutes. The volume never lowered. It was ridiculous. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been in a louder stadium in my life, and I've been all over, you know. So those will be my two votes.
Okay.
The Kimry fade game was unbelievably loud, and it was ridiculously loud. So I'll throw that in the mix.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you for the phone call. Don't be a stranger. Good to hear from you. All right. We're altering this a little bit. If we're just going to 803-404-6100, the loudest moment you've ever been in a stadium. Because as Mark just pointed out, he pointed out the Southern Cal game in '83 I was only one, so I couldn't say I remember that. But Mark also said the Eric Kimry, Jamel Kelly fade and the Mississippi State game and everything that occurred in that game. I'll tell you this, when it comes to Williams-Brice Stadium, that's actually nowhere close to the loudest I've ever heard it. The Georgia game in 2012, and unfortunately, when you just talk moments, just particular situations, particular moments, I will put Williams-Brice Stadium's loudest moment that I can ever remember came in 2001 when Florida fumbled the punt. I think it was Lito Shepherd, fumbled the punt. South Carolina recovered inside the 5. Opening series of the game, and Derek Watson ran it around the left side and ran into the end zone and started air punching, and Williams-Brice Stadium exploded. Now, unfortunately, we know the direction that game went. But in that moment, that is actually the loudest I've ever heard Williams-Brice Stadium is at that moment. I will put up 3 different moments that I think were the loudest, and one would be that would be number 1. 2 would be the A. Sanders punt return against Georgia in 2012. That was people going nuts. I mean, absolutely losing their mind. And then 3, and I don't know if people agree with me, but things had been built up so much. Rocket Sanders running into the end zone, catching the underneath pass from Lenoris this year, and running into the end zone against Missouri. Maybe it's because we were a little bit still too close to the moment. Maybe it's because we just don't define him in this way. That Rocket Sanders touchdown, it's been a while. I mean, there's moments. Beating Kentucky under Shane Beamer, beating Auburn under Shane Beamer. There have been some moments, I have to admit, I have to be honest. I was in Charleston at a club soccer match with my son, Austin, when South Carolina played Tennessee a couple years ago and won 63-38. I did not, so maybe that moment should be up there. But those would be my top 3 moments at Williams-Brice Stadium in terms of the stadium being loud. Now, I'm sure some of you can point to other ones. Somebody else pointed out the Ole Miss game in 2009. Again, one person on the text line agrees with me. Says, I don't know, man. Last year, Missouri was the loudest. Yeah, that'd be again, pick and choose. I think it's where you sat, how voices echo, and how the crowd noise and everything echoes in that stadium. But, yeah, It was crazy for the Missouri game. The A. Sanders punt return was absolutely insane. And then, again, even though it didn't lead to the best moments of South Carolina football history, really for the next, about 50, I'm trying to think of how quickly that play occurred, but I would say probably within the first 5 minutes. And Derek Watson air punching in the stadium. That was a blackout game. Game day had been there. For a lot of us, it was the first time we ever had 45 extra minutes to tailgate, and many people didn't know how to handle it properly. That was an insane situation, too. We'll get into more of these. Keep sending them in. I say, well, we'll adjust. We can play on the fly. It's a Friday. We'll adjust a little bit of our conversation here. Coming up, hour number 2. Again, Hal McGranahan set to join us about 1:30 this morning. There it is. There's mistake number 2 this afternoon. Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Volknight and the Men's Clinic. All right, guys, well, you hear me. You've heard me all week now moving shows from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. to 12 to 3. And, boy, if you don't think there's a little bit of brain fog going on, whew, boy, are you wrong. So I clearly need to call Dr. Dan Volknight. I need to go over there and have an appointment. You might be experiencing some other symptoms. As we turn past 40, our bodies start to change. Aging starts to catch up with us. And, again, if you've listened to me this week, you're like, man, did you go from 43 to 73? Listen, don't put your health off. I know I shouldn't. I'm advising you not to either. Call the Men's Clinic, 803-875-MENS, and schedule an appointment. If you've been working out, but you're gaining weight, you're not losing weight anymore. If you're noticing you get up in the morning, there's hair follicles now on the pillow, and you're not real sure why, it's not just as simple as, hey, you're aging. It could be a lot more, and you need to get it checked out today. 803-875-MENS, or visit them on the web for more information, themensclinicsc.com. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 1 o'clock on a Friday. Hopefully for a lot of y'all, you're kind of looking at the clock, you're looking at the weather, you're looking at the fact that it's July the 11th, and you're like, I might not be going back to the office this afternoon. Had a big lunch. Now I'm ready to relax, enjoy the weekend, and you're just like, anything I'm doing, I can be held off till Monday. But if not, we'll get you through the next 2 hours before we hand it over to Jay Phillips and Terry Ford. Tyler Head has already done his work for the day, 6 hours this morning, so he is off this afternoon. Just Captain Dave Adair and I, and we will get you through here again the next 2 hours. Coming up at 1:30 this hour, Hale McGranahan, and we'll talk some recruiting. I have, again, said it. I'm telling you what I believe. You don't have to believe me, but I don't know if you can keep making – is it an excuse? Is it an honest statement? I don't know, but you can't keep saying, well, we lost out on a recruit to Georgia. We lost out on a recruit to Texas in the sense of Samari Smoke Matthews tonight. Tamarian Watkins will decide on Monday between South Carolina and Texas A&M. P.J. Dean went to Georgia. You can't South Carolina has to win some of these recruiting battles. And I think for me, as I'm saying it out loud over and over and over, especially this week, the theme of the year is to advance the program. You are in prime position to advance the program, and you've got to take advantage of that. And some of that comes down to not making excuses and saying, hey, we got to land a P.J. Dean. We got to land a Samari Matthews. We got to land a Tamarian Watkins. Darius Gray, the five-star offensive lineman, is out there. You got to land him. I know Julian Walker, probably still on the table here, the Dutch Fork high school product who committed to Michigan. You got to land him. There are reasons, as a person who covered recruiting many moons ago, there are reasons some kids go some places. P.J. Dean had a brother that played at Georgia. Julian Walker basically really, really liked Michigan. You've got to overcome that. You've got to go out and look. I'll point to that school, that orange school in the upstate. They went out at some point, and you can tell me whatever you want. Well, they paid players. Okay, well, they figured out how to win. Oh, well, they had a bag man. Okay, all right, I don't care. You got to land the recruits. And I'm not saying that Shane Beamer and his staff, I think they're a very good recruiting staff. I think they know what they're doing. I think they've landed. They've landed Nick Harbor. They've landed Dylan. They've landed Dylan Stewart. They've landed Desmond Yumi Zulu and beat out some really good schools from. I'm not saying they're doing bad. What I am saying is you got to land some of these. You got to continue to build that talent in the pipeline. And it's harder in today's age because of the transfer portal. But tonight is a big one. Now, would Smoke Matthews come in next year and be a starter and change the dynamics of the secondary and the defense? I don't know. I had no idea. But I know you're better off with him than without him. Is Tamarian Watkins going to be a guy that comes in like Nick Eamon-Wari and shows out from day one? I got no idea. But I know that you need him. And it doesn't help to have someone like him on your team. It doesn't hurt. P.J. Dean, I get it. You had to go against Georgia in that situation. I'm sorry, you got to start to land some of these. And I know Shane Beamer and his staff know that. I know they're not like, hey, did you hear the afternoon guy on the one? He thinks we should start landing there. I think we should. I get it. I do get it. This isn't easy. Recruiting, trust me, is not for the faint of heart. But when Steve Spurrier made his run, you landed out-of-state guys like a Mike Davis. You landed an out-of-state guy. Of course, you weren't going against Georgia's and everybody else, but you landed a Connor Shaw. You landed a Travian Robertson out of North Carolina. You got to go land. You land a lot a lot of factors, but you landed an Ace Sanders out of Florida, and you can go through and you can go on and on and on through guys that came in, not just from in-state kids. Yeah, I know they landed Marcus Lattimore, Clowney, and Gilmore, so forth and so on. Very good in-state kids. Devin Taylor was an in-state kid, but yeah, you got to go out of state. I mean, look, Steven Garcia. Say what you want about old Garcia. South Carolina's program got better because of him, and the next three coming up. They're big. They're big. And if you want to continue that window, if you want to continue to have a top-notch, top-tier program, I don't know if we're in the day and age of you rely on the transfer portal now or you just assume, hey, Smoke Matthews went to Texas. Don't worry, we'll get him back in like a year or two. I don't know if that's the strategy you can have, but we'll talk with Hale McGranahan about that coming up at 1:30 this afternoon. Also, at least as we sit here, if you're just getting in the car, you just getting out of a meeting, you're heading to lunch, no Rasul Faison news. And I know we sound like a broken record. I know that this is something that now I'm starting, don't want to speak for anybody else. we're starting to make fun of a little bit. But again, as I said in our number one, you're screwing the kid. I mean, this is it. Fine. Deny him and give him his options if you're the NCAA. And I know I'm banging a drum that makes no noise, but what you're doing to the kid is wrong. If he wants no supplemental draft this year, but if he wanted to start fixing or doing whatever he wants to, whatever his options are, let him get that. I truthfully, it's to the point, like, I don't even care if he gets denied. Give him the freedom of mind of what is in front of him now. Stop messing around with this. And I know this is the NCAA. I know that they've done this. South Carolina's not the first school they've done this to. But come on, stop doing this. 2, you're messing with the university. In a way, the NCAA right now is taking one hand of Shane Beamer's and tying it behind his back and saying, no, you want that guy to be your number 1 running back. We're not going to give you clarity on what you need to do right now because we'll just drag our feet on this. And as I've said before, and I'll say again many a time, so prepare yourself accordingly, you're messing with the football program because if Rasul Faison, I will say this, we are acting like Rasul Faison is a potential Heisman candidate. Let's also make that clear. I'm not 100% sure how much he comes in and helps, but what I do know is that the coaches believe that. The coaches went out and got him as RB1 to take over Rocket Sanders' job, to provide competition and maybe, and push Jarwan Howe and Matt Fuller, the young guys, a little bit more. And the NCAA is basically being like, we're going to handcuff you, Shane Beamer. We're going to handcuff y'all. You don't know what your running back situation is going to be like. Maybe you get this guy, maybe you don't. We'll let you know. We'll get back to you. I'm trying to remember, Demir Bird, I think, was the same situation with the NCAA. That was a different kind of situation, but that was a situation. There's been plenty of these, but you're messing, A, with the kid, and B, you're really tying a hand behind the head coach or the program because they're in limbo. And then let's just say we get to fall camp, and again, you're like, well, we won't Faison to get ready and be the guy, but we don't know if he's going to be ready, so how many reps do we give him in practice? How many first team or second team reps does he get? So no news on that. I do think, and Shane Beamer is set to talk at 11:45 on Monday. We'll have it for you right here on 107.5 The Game. He's set to talk at 11:45. I got $0 on me right now, so this is a false claim. But whatever money I have on me on Monday, I can almost put on it that he is going to say something. Somebody's going to ask. I feel that's a given. And I don't know, for those that don't know how it exactly works, we always get a local media press gaggle, if you will, prior to the start of him going on stage. Basically, it's like, hey, local media guys, here's your chance to talk with Coach. Don't ask questions while we're out in the main room. That's for more like the national guys or the quirky guys want to ask something really dumb because they're trying to get a quote. They're trying to make somebody laugh. I think y'all can all pick out one particularly, I think now deemed a national guy that'll do something like that. But with all that being said, I don't know if it'll be in the little gaggle and the little group setting that they'll have somewhere else, or if it'll be on the main stage. But I feel like it's a pretty certain that Shane Beamer will talk about that. So that's kind of the football South Carolina aspect of it. And again, coming up at 1:30 in about 22 minutes, Hale McGranahan will join us. We'll get back into some of this recruiting. Also, last night, how many of you got into the NBA debut of Cooper Flagg? I'll be honest, did not know about this. The only reason I learned is I was sitting at home yesterday doing a little show prep, doing that a little more frequently now because, I'm not sleeping in the afternoon. But Pardon the Interruption came on with Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. And they started talking. I was like, ooh, all right, here's something to watch tonight. And it was Bronny James and the Lakers against Cooper Flagg and the Mavericks. Let me be clear, the game was irrelevant. There was probably, I don't know how many guys were on that roster. Didn't care to look it up. Maybe 22, maybe 24, 12 and 12, 11 and 11. I don't know. But in that particular game, there was probably like 5 guys, maybe 6, that will actually play in the NBA. And it was Cooper Flagg and maybe 1 or 2 more that will actually seriously be a part of an NBA team, like guys that will actually go out and contribute and help. So it's not like I was reading too much into, all right, hey, how did he play against this guy? How did he handle that guy? What did he do in the game? It was more of a situation. I was like, all right, how does he handle NBA playing? And I'll give you an example. Right off the bat last night, he gets the ball. They were trying to play Cooper Flagg at the point guard position. That's exactly what Jason Kidd wants to do. He's trying to play the point guard position. And as both the announcers and then I've watched a couple NBA Summer League games, normally when I'm extremely bored and have nothing else to do and Netflix is out or something. But I ended up watching this game, and right off of the bat, the Lakers double teamed, like tried to trap and double team Cooper Flag. As soon as he got the ball, I think it was about 5 seconds in, didn't do a particularly good job of it. He was solid. His numbers last night were not solid, not even close. 5 of 21 shooting. First half didn't look really good. He was 0 of 5 from three-point range. Had a couple plays here and there. Mark me up for especially early season NBA. Not a huge fan. There's too much going on in November. You coming off of MLB playoffs when games mattered. You got NFL going on. Obviously, you got college football. I'm more into college basketball. So when the NBA kicks off in November, at the end of October, going into November, I'm not really paying attention. I will have a little bit more of an eye on Cooper Flag going into the NBA season. It might be a midweek. Look, I'll be honest. November, give me Maction. Give me midweek MAC games. Give me the Sun Belt, whatever. I will take those over an NBA game in November. But I will put Cooper Flag on my list of, all right, November, nothing great on? Sign me up. I'll watch that. And he looked, again, the numbers last night weren't good, but he looked poised. He seemed to handle himself. For those that even care, and I'm one of those people that do not care, but the Mavericks won 87-85. Flag last night, again, 10 points in that game on 5 of 21 shooting. He had 6 rebounds and 3 assists. I think I asked on the morning show, I believe. I think it was with Preston. Who are guys you've been, to make their pro debut, guys you've been most excited, and maybe if you want to use the word interested in, guys that you were most excited to see. And I threw out there Zion Williamson, Johnny Manziel. Again, not because I thought he was going to be great. I was just like, what in the world is about to happen when Johnny Manziel plays quarterback for the Browns? Like, good grief, what is this going to produce? Bryce Harper was a really good one. Derek Jeter was a different one because I'd gotten an autograph from him. I had a buddy who told me how great Derek Jeter was going to be, and he was at Capital City Stadium years and years ago. But put me down for Cooper Flag now. Put me down for, in terms of interest, in terms of going out of my way to watch, put me down for that. And last night, again, the numbers did not suggest a very good game. The play, though, I thought he did. He had a huge block towards the very end of the game that resulted in a breakaway layup. And a breakaway 3. He had another one where he got a dunk, but a breakaway 3 that won them the ball game. But 803-404-6100. I'm going to go with the massive majority of you are going to say no, but that was something I did get into last night. Also, if you haven't seen this story, further proof, folks, leave the fireworks alone. And if you make a lot of money and you're in sports, hire someone to do your firework display. If you didn't see this, Najee Harris, former Alabama running back, and now with the Chargers, sustained an eye injury after a fireworks mishap at a 4th of July event. His agent, Doug Hendrickson, told ESPN's Adam Schefter Thursday, Hendrickson said the injury was superficial and that Harris is expected to be ready for the upcoming game. Hendrickson, again, the agent, said that the mishap resulted to injuries to several attendees. One person was hospitalized after he lost fingers in the accident. This took place out in California. Like, man, if you're a professional athlete and you're making millions of dollars, let's have some common sense. No snowboarding, no fireworks, no motocrossing, just a little common sense. Just I'm throwing it out there. Harris signed a 1-year deal with the Chargers back in March, trying to rebuild the Chargers' rush offense. The Chargers, it's been 8 years since they had a 1,000-yard rusher, which is also surprising to hear in the NFL. But just lesson learned. Leave the fireworks alone, folks. If you're a professional athlete, if you're making a lot of money, I don't know if it's worth it. Pay a few extra dollars, bring out some professionals, or just go on the lake and watch the fireworks or whatever's closest to you. 803-404-6100. I'll get back into the loudest moments of Williams-Brice Stadium when we come back. A couple of y'all have weighed in. You got some really good ones. We'll talk about these. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank, where that is the only place you need to be contacting if you're looking to purchase a home, looking to build a home. Maybe you're looking to just refinance. Well, guess what? You need to call the Mortgage Guru himself and see what options, what products are available to you, what the interest rate would be, how much your down payment could be, all these important questions that we normally don't ask because we just go house hunting and then think, oh, I can afford this. That's not always the case. You need to call Jacob Crowder, 803-719-1005. If you're considering building a home, First Palmetto Bank has a no-nonsense construction loan that might just fit your needs, and there's lots of other options. Again, if you're looking to build, if you're looking to refinance, if you're looking to buy, well, the first phone call you need to make, and definitely before you go get on Zillow, is to the Mortgage Guru, 803-719-1005. Again, he's the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Give him a phone call today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you. $120 on your Friday afternoon. Hopefully you are enjoying it. I had to go outside this morning. It was muggy. If you haven't been back outside, it's probably still muggy. So try and get through the office hours, enjoy the afternoon, and spend a great weekend with the family or the significant others, and then get ready for SEC Media Days and a few big days in recruiting for South Carolina as we really kind of start the real honest track toward the start of the college football season. So get ready for that. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. As always, make sure you go and check out some of our great apps where you can download the 1075 The Game app and just go to your Apple Store, I guess App Store, whatever. I'm so old. I'm getting so old. But go there and download the 1075 The Game app. You can take us anywhere and listen to us. Also, don't forget, you're just sitting at your office and I say something or somebody here at the station says something really stupid and you want to look and see, hey, how stupid does that guy really or that woman really look? You can always go watch us. Just go to at the Game TV Radio, powered by Integrated Media and sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Go to YouTube, and again, that's all you got to look for, at the Game TV Radio, or I always just type in 1075 The Game YouTube, and it pops right up on my search feature, and you can check us out and watch video. And right now, you would see me wearing a hat, talking into a mic. You'd see Captain Dave Adair back there. What are you, scrolling Facebook? Yeah, hey, now he's waving at the camera. All right, so yeah, go and check it. You purchase. Sometimes he just goes online and tries to purchase a guitar. We got to keep an eye on that for him sometimes. There you go. So a lot of ways you can interact with us each and every day. A lot of y'all weighing in. 803-404-6100. Loudest game. All right, a little bit before my time, and we got a debate here on years. I'd have to go back and research this. Loudest moment you've ever heard at Williams-Brice Stadium. This has kind of evolved from the CBS Sports article, or USA Today article, ranking the top 16 SEC home venues. Now, again, on this thing, Florida was number 1, LSU was 2, Neyland Stadium was 3, Bryant-Denny, which I didn't agree with at all, was number 4, Sanford Stadium was number 5, and South Carolina was number 6. I think that's impressive because I feel like with South Carolina, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. But I also feel like for South Carolina to be top 6, whoever wrote this article had to be there because South Carolina has always been known for a loyal fan base. I don't know if they've been known as an intimidating environment. And I will give all the credit in the world. Chance Miller, Ray Tanner, all the people down there, Charles Waddell, who is retiring and has done a phenomenal job. There's so many people down there who have done just an incredible job of making a home, especially a home night game. Look, I'll admit, I didn't think I was going to like this train that comes out. I'm in. Count me in. The train, it starts puffing out, and the music gets going, and the crowd's waving, and it's that. South Carolina wins, and this goes into it. You got to win. It's kind of like what I said about Florida and some of these other venues. You go, and when South Carolina thumped Florida down there, or when South Carolina's been thumped, as I've been there for that too, the venue changes. But I tell you what, those people over there in the administration and the game day marketing and everything, they are phenomenal. They're absolutely phenomenal. Going to a South Carolina night game, going to any game is fun. Going to a South Carolina night game is becoming, I'm serious about this. I'm not trying to be a homer, so I'm serious about it. It's becoming a must-go-to event. Again, the train, I didn't think I'd like this train, but here it comes. It comes puffing out. And then you got the cheerleaders down there, and they're doing a phenomenal job. You got the dance team down there, and they're going crazy. The band is going, it is. I don't want to be a homer. But I'm tempted to say Williams-Brice Stadium has become one of the top 3 home venues in the league. Now, unfortunately, again, you got to win. You got to keep people energized after the first quarter, and they've done a good job of that. But this is coming off of this article. Again, Williams-Brice Stadium, number 6. I definitely have them above Alabama. I know Alabama's good, but that Alabama home game experience is outside of the top 10. Stanford Stadium's tough. Neyland Stadium, I do love going there for a lot of different reasons. LSU would be number 1 without a doubt. And again, I think Florida to me is hit or miss. But also the way Florida Stadium is situated is absolutely, it creates noise. It is absolutely phenomenal there. Kyle Field, by the way, 7. I'd like to go, hadn't decided on going this year yet. Kyle Field at 7. I went and saw that game. They were nice. Tailgating, everything was great. Nice fan base, fun. The stadium is, I can't, if you've never seen Kyle Field, you got to go one time. I went to the game where Will Muschamp kicked about a 40-yard field goal in the final seconds to make South Carolina get shut out, and they lost 30-3. I can't tell you what the environment is like when it's a big game. Number 8 is Jordan Hare. I'd have that higher. Jordan Hare, when Auburn is winning, again, same thing with a lot of things. When Auburn's winning, phenomenal environment. Don't know if we can say anything about Oklahoma Memorial Stadium right now because of the fact that when South Carolina went there, they basically allowed the crowd in for 5 minutes and then ushered everybody out by being up 21-0. Don't know what we really gained from that. Texas is number 10 on this list. I'll read this because somebody gave me blowback on the Twitter account. It says, Texas earns its reputation for having a bit of a wine and cheese crowd amid its 100,000 capacity, but Longhorn fans can still turn it up for big games. Texas has won 14 of the last 15 home games, resulting in a triumphant rendition of the Eyes of Texas. 11 is Farrett Field in Missouri. 12 is Davis Wade at Mississippi State. 13, I've never been. It's one of the stadiums, but I've heard great things about it, is Razorback Stadium in Arkansas. I'm a little surprised that was so far down. 14 was Vaught Hemingway, obviously Mississippi. That was 14. 15 was Kroger Field there at 15. Again, Kroger Field at Kentucky, and 16 is what we would all know, Vanderbilt. So there's your list for the 16 ranked according to USA Today. Let's go out to the phone lines. Tom wants to weigh in. Tom, how you doing?
Gunter, what's going on, brother?
Not much. Staying busy.
Man, listen, the new game, I tried to beat the Gamecocks in it, but your quarterback, I don't know, he's got like Crisco all over him, man. We can't tackle him at all. What do we got to do in real life in November?
Good to hear from.
The beast, man.
Yeah, good to hear from. So, real quick before I answer that, Morgan Wallen last night?
Nah, tonight and tomorrow.
Tonight and tomorrow.
Poolside right now.
Oh.
Tonight and tomorrow. Currently poolside right now.
Poolside. Okay. Living a better life than I am right now. That sounds like a lot of fun. I don't, for Lenoris and for Cade, I think, I look at both of these guys. I don't want to say it's a prove-it year, but, and Tom, we've talked about this a lot with Cade. I think because his performances against South Carolina haven't been spectacular, the South Carolina fan base probably thinks lower of him than the national media. Lenoris, there's going to be a lot of people around here who think, man, what he did against Missouri and A&M and Clemson, phenomenal. And then they look at that bowl game and they're like, all right, well, if you want to stop him, just follow that game plan that Brett Bielema and Illinois had. I don't advise that. I hope they make some changes. But, yeah, you got to trip him up, tie his shoelaces together.
Man, I think y'all are going to have a big year. I mean, what are you thinking you guys are going to look like this year?
The running back situation is very, very interesting. I talked a lot about that today with Rasul. We talked a lot about it all week with Faison, and then you've also got the interior defensive tackles. I don't – on paper, they look great. 5-star, 4-star, a couple other guys on there that are supposed to be really good. How good are they? Welcome to the transfer portal era of trying to dissect your football team preseason.
Now, how's the O-line looking, though? Is going to be able to block for him?
I like the offensive line. I'm questionable on the coaching. Lonnie, this is a. You at some point when you recruit as well as they have, and they've recruited well, they should be able to fall forward and knock a couple guys over.
You would think so. I mean, you would think so. I honestly, the quarterback situation you guys got doesn't make me nervous, but it makes me more intrigued than what you guys have had in the past. And so I've said this 100 times. When you guys are good and we're good, it just makes the rivalry better.
I hope so.
What makes it fun, brother.
I look forward to it, buddy. Well, enjoy your concert. Clemson Tom, who I hope you'll become a little bit more of I've had Clemson Sean and Clemson Tom on today, so a big day for us. But
yeah, I'm streaming you next to the pool. I got some DJ playing songs I don't like, so I put on the AirPods. Saw you were on. Figured I'd stream you. Let's see what you guys are up to.
Glad to hear from you, man. Enjoy those concerts. Hey, real quick, did you get Annie? Did Annie actually agree to this last night, or is she Annie? What is Agler or whatever?
Annie, do you want to talk to Gunter?
I did.
She said she didn't want to talk on the phone.
Totally understandable. All right, buddy. Good hearing from you.
I'll text you.
Yeah, take care. All right, later. Clemson Tom. Always fun to have him on and cut up. It's not a rivalry if you don't go back and forth a little bit. 803-404-6100. Helmut Granahan joins us to talk some recruiting next. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 1:35 on your Friday afternoon. That's right. I'm still working on getting the afternoons, the mornings, all that straight. But one thing I do know, now being in the afternoons, we can have on thebigspur.com's Hale McGranahan, because mornings, boy, if they were rough on John Whittle. Hale, I can't say you were making it in the mornings, were you?
I'm good, morning, noon, or night, whatever you need, Bill. I'm here for you.
Well, we're glad to have you. Glad to have you on. Number one, congratulations. If you didn't see, Hale getting a nice big contract. So all the hot dogs that you can eat are now on Hale as he re-signs, because obviously he's doing a phenomenal job, but re-signing with 24/7 Sports.
I appreciate it. I'll be happy to add chili to any of those hot dogs when anybody's looking for some toppings, any fixings.
Well, we will hold you to that this coming football season. We'll just make you bring everything for a tailgate, and I think we can offset the stuff you bring with other things that get brought to a tailgate and have a good time. So, I really on Monday deemed this a big about next 14 days, and it'll get going tonight. It'll get going tonight with Samari Matthews. You got Tamarian Watkins on Monday, Landon Duckworth on Friday. I put out a poll on Monday, Hale, of those three guys, who did South Carolina fans think was the most important to land? I'll ask you first of who you think, who does Hale McGranahan think is the most important player to land, and then who do you think the fan base chose?
Personally, I would say Landon Duckworth, quarterback. He's at the most important position in all of sports, so I think that's kind of a no-brainer, especially since he's so talented and was committed at one point to Carolina previously. So I would say him, and I would guess that fans would probably say him, but I'm going to say Samari Matthews. No,
your initial answer was right. Landon Duckworth was the poll winner, followed actually by Tamarian Watkins and then Samari Matthews. But yeah, I was a little surprised by that. But let's start with tonight. Samari Matthews, Smoke Matthews. This has kind of gone back and forth. South Carolina felt they were in a really good place, I think, about 2 or 3 months ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Now it's turned into a South Carolina battle. And from what I can understand from reading you, from reading JC and anybody else, this has kind of been turned into a stay close to home, help continue to build a program against, get a big NIL deal, and go into a situation that's championship ready.
Yeah, that's quite a decision for any high school recruit to have to make, but I guess that's a good problem to have when you're a high-level player. You can sometimes have those decisions to make, and for Samari, I mean, he's been down to South Carolina on campus as a visitor probably close to 15 times throughout the course of his high school career. I mean, he's been to South Carolina more than anywhere else, and has relationships with guys like Jazavian Currents, who's committed, and I've gotten to know some players over the years as well. And, there are all sorts of connections to Carolina, but he's close with the guy who coaches the cornerbacks out there at Texas. I can't remember that coach's name off the top of my head, but he's got a relationship there, and some of those other things are apparently in play as well with him. So, maybe the direct flight from Charlotte to Austin will help offset some of the travel difficulties his family might be faced with, but we'll see what happens later tonight.
Now, I know occasionally y'all will put in a crystal ball, so we'll get your I'll call it uneducated, because you can't predict these things. Good Lord, you think one thing's about to happen and a whole nother thing comes up. But from what you know, from the intel you got, what do you have? Where do you have this going tonight?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be Texas. I wrote something earlier this week saying that I was predicting South Carolina, but I certainly didn't have any tangible intel or anything that made me feel real good about it, other than just some of those reasons I just laid out a second ago, Bill. Proximity of home relationships and amount of times he's been down to Columbia, but at this point, I think it's going to be Texas.
Then that would bring up the question of, is this recruitment over, or like we've seen in the past, still open in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think there will be an opportunity for Carolina, but I don't know for sure. I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying. I honestly don't know how it's going to play out from here if you picks Texas or South Carolina or somebody else. But if it is Texas, just given how far away from home it is, and again, like how many times he's been down to Carolina, like I think the door will be left open to a degree. How much, I don't know, but yeah, I suspect Carolina is going to continue to try to recruit him for sure.
That would bring us to Monday then. That would be 0 for 1. Tamarian Watkins out of Northwestern, who physically not quite as heavy, right, at the same time as Nick Eamon-Warry. But again, a lot of the same physical attributes. 6'3.5", 6'4", long arms, played safety, can play linebacker. Where do we think he may pull the trigger for on Monday the 14th?
Yeah, that one's a little murkier. There's been some back and forth with just thoughts from folks that I talked to. Tony Morrell at the Big Spurs heard some more encouraging things regarding Carolina standing with him. Similar to Matthews, like there's the whole, hey, are you going to hop on a plane and go all the way out to Texas, or do you want to just have that short ride down I-77 and go to Columbia? So, I put in a crystal ball for Watkins to South Carolina. I think it was in January when I did it, and part of my thought process with that was it was my understanding from talking to folks that he was the type of guy who probably was not going to venture too far from home. Then, oddly enough, he's down to Carolina and A&M, and he took an official visit to Miami, and Georgia's been on him, even though Athens obviously isn't that far of a car ride from Rock Hill. So at this point, it looks like Carolina or A&M, and I think Carolina's got a really good shot. I don't know that it's definite one way or the other, and regardless of what happens, like let's say if he does pick A&M on Monday, again, like with Matthews, I think South Carolina will probably still try to recruit him, and we'll just have to wait and see if that door will be left open by Watkins. If the interest is going to be mutual or not, we'll have to see.
About 2.5 minutes left with Hale McGranahan. And then next Friday, a week from today, Landon Duckworth will make his announcement. I don't know if we know of a second team involved. And let's say he does choose South Carolina. You mentioned the ability. He is the highest-rated recruit of these three. What is it that you've seen that South Carolina gets in Landon Duckworth, and how that fits into a room with Aaron Nolan and Cutter Woods?
Well, you're already calling Lenore Sellers for the NFL draft. Is that what you're reporting right now?
Yes, yeah, basically yes. I'm and plus
okay,
potential Super Bowl MVP of 2026, not 2027. I think he's going to go straight to they'll pick him up early, and he will be the MVP for somebody, the Super Bowl MVP.
I wouldn't put it past him. So yeah, with Duckworth, he's a dual threat through and through. I mean, he's extremely athletic. He can run. He plays basketball for his high school and is a really good basketball player. He runs track and is a decorated track athlete. So yeah, he brings a dynamic skill set to the football field, and part of what I like about that, and what I think a lot of college coaches, not just Carolina's college coaches, but just all across the country, is that if you can get a player who's a guy that plays multiple sports, chances are you're going to be able to help grow his talent, maximize. He's got some upside because he's not just solely playing football. He's not out throwing footballs all day, every day. And that to me is a good thing. I mean, look no further than a guy like Tom Hemingway. Different position, obviously. But nonetheless, Duckworth, like I said, dynamic athlete. He's a winner. He led his team to a state championship. He's got a nice arm. Got some room to grow as a player, not only on the field, just playing football, but physically as well. That's a nice piece of clay that if Mike Shula was able to get him back on board, that's a nice talent to get to work with down the road.
Hale, we appreciate it. Glad to have you out here in the afternoon. We'll certainly be doing more of that in the future, as South Carolina's got a big recruiting year ahead of them to go along with a big football season. Enjoy the weekend. I know you got a lot to cover, and we will catch up with you here by sometime in the first week of August.
Sounds good. I appreciate you having me back on.
You too, buddy. Good to hear from you. Hale McGranahan, thebigspur.com. And again, congratulations to him. We talk about contract extensions and signing new contracts. Well, he himself with 24/7 Sports just signed a brand new one. 803-404-6100. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 2, get back into some of the loudest moments at Williams-Brice Stadium we've heard. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Look, guys, I'm 43, all right? I'm getting older. I'm not aging like maybe some people, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that I'm not the same as I was in my 20s or 30s. And sometimes that's just not part of aging. There might be something that you need to get checked out, and that's exactly why you need to contact Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. 803-875-MENS, or you can visit them on the web. TheMen'sClinicSC.com is how you can get in touch with them. Listen, it's important to keep up with your health. I can't stress this enough. Keep up with your health. And at the Men's Clinic, they understand that you are an individual, and you need individual treatment, not just generic medical care. They want to make sure that whatever they prescribe for you, however they do things, is specific to what you are dealing with in your life. So call the Men's Clinic today, 803-875-MENS. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Thank you again to thebigspur.com's Hale McGranahan for joining us there and making me sound like more kind of an idiot. But if that's what it goes, that's what happens with Samari Matthews. You heard, if you didn't hear it, Hale saying he believes Samari Matthews will choose Texas tonight. Not everything is the same, but again, South Carolina's fine in the defensive backfield. They're fine. You still got to go out and land. You land elite prospects because elite prospects take you to being an elite team. It's just, having been in the recruiting world, having been around it, you hate having the conversation, man, what is the recruit we missed on that went on to have this kind of career and did this and that? And, again, he's not an in-state kid, Samari Matthews. He is from Charlotte, but that's not one. And you heard Hale, South Carolina's had him on campus upwards of 15 times. He's been around the program. Doesn't mean it's over. Doesn't mean it's over for 4 years, the way these things work now with the transfer portal. But if he does indeed choose Texas tonight, that's a blow. I mean, there's no other way to sell it. You have to win. You have to be winning some of the. There's a reason Texas is Texas and Georgia's Georgia and Ohio State's Ohio State. It's because they land elite prospects. It's not always because, well, the money was there, promises were made. You gotta match it. And again, I'm not going to say it's a failure. It's not a failure. You gave it all you could. You had the kid on campus. The kid just made a decision, but you got to do something. You got to entice them. You got to get them. And in this day and age, money talks, and you know what else walks. So 803-404-6100. We've been talking a lot about South Carolina home games for Williams-Brice Stadium. This is on the heels of a USA Today article ranking the top 16 SEC venues. South Carolina checked in at number 6. A lot of y'all have some great memories. Greg weighed in last hour and said 2014 against Georgia. The Georgia kicker missed the field goal. We won 38-35. Loudest I've heard when I was in the student section. Nick weighs in and goes, the Ole Miss Thursday night game with the 3 defensive plays to win was crazy, bleeping loud. Saul also going with that particular game, Ole Miss in 2009. But I can't remember if that was you had the Kentucky game and you had the Mississippi game, I believe both in 2009. And I believe it was I know the Mississippi game was, Mississippi came in at number 4 and South Carolina knocked them off. And then the funny thing about the Ole Miss game, if people remember, Steve Spurrier, after beating number 4 Mississippi, went in and complained about the offense. I mean, I'll never forget one of his opening lines. Like, yeah, I hope we can win a shootout around here sometime. 42, 47. I hope we win a shootout. And I was almost upset that South Carolina won because of the defense. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Well, you won. I think that was also the Ole Miss game. I think was also the game he got mad at Garcia for lowering his head. I believe that was the game, but that was 09. Jacob weighs in and says, loudest stadium I've ever been in was the Swamp. I was there in 06 when Spurrier had his return. When they blocked the kick at the end, it was the only time I've ever had to cover my ears in a stadium. Jacob, I agree. That was insane. I was there for that, and I was not far behind the South Carolina bench, and that was without a doubt probably the loudest stadium, the loudest moment in a football stadium I've ever been at. The loudest moment I've ever been at was when Lower Richland whipped us in the high school state championship in '99, and Lower Richland fans were letting us know about it. Another texter weighs in and says, last year against Missouri, loudest for me. I couldn't hear my lady next to me. Hopefully she wasn't a Missouri fan. Another texter says, recently, Rocket scoring the game winner against Missouri, and the Xavier Legette kickoff return against A&M. I agree. That was not in my top 3 or 4, but it's close. That was pretty loud. The DJ Swearinger pick. This comes in from another texter. DJ Swearinger pick 6 after the 2 interceptions. Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. After the penalties. What am I thinking of? The 15-yarders in that. So that's a couple. If you want to weigh in with your memories, go ahead. Again, a couple more. Another texter weighs in with the Xavier Legette kickoff return. That, again, that was a shocker. That was a shocker, and I think the only reason that might not have been louder is because some people hadn't been able to get to their seats just yet. Texter weighs in the Quincy Carter 5-interception game from back. That was in 2000. That was the game. I'll never forget that I was at the lunch with Lou the day before, and somebody asked about the red shirt, or would the Gamecocks be wearing red jerseys or something, and Lou Holtz made a joke, because nobody knew they were going to be wearing the red jerseys. Lou Holtz made a joke about, their red shirt policy, and kind of turned it around, didn't speak about it anymore, and they came out in the, if we're being honest, the shiny red. That was not a garnet jersey. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on this. Another texter goes with the 2014 rain delay game. That's the one we were just talking about. That's the one where somehow, some way, Dylan Thompson inched his way. And we talked about the Georgia kicker, whose name escapes my mind right now. But Dylan Thompson inched his way for about a quarter inch and got across the 50-yard line to get a first down to finish that game. That was also coming. That was also, if you remember, that was also coming 2 games after, or 1 game after, the Texas A&M debacle, and I think nobody thought South Carolina would win. Walt weighs in the 1984 Florida State game, the 1986 Nebraska game, the 87 Clemson game, which I've not old enough, didn't get to attend. I've heard that 87 Clemson game, the night game. Brad Edwards gets the interception, slides into the end zone. The Gamecocks win 20-7. I've seen videos of it, and it looks like an absolute party, absolute insane party. Keep sending them in. I'll get to more. We will get to all of those and more. Hour 3 on the way. We'll talk a little gambling as well. Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider, set to join us. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We will close up shop here in about an hour. We got a lot to get to before we do just that as we kind of recap what we have talked about today. Again, Tyler Head working from 6 to 12 this morning, so he is out. Well, he said, that's enough work. We've seen you enough. Go home. Start your weekend. As he's got a big week next week. He'll be over in Atlanta. SEC Media Days gets underway, and sometimes as I do this show, as I'm talking and I'm thinking, they don't always correlate to work together, but it brings up a question in my head. And we were talking earlier about SEC Media Days and how I can only speak for myself, can't speak for you out there listening, that we get all excited. It's like the little tiny, like the little bowl of soup that you get when you go to hibachi. The little, the miso soup? It's like, it's got a couple mushrooms in it. Maybe it's got some scallions. It's not bad. It's not great. It's like something to get you really into the meal. And that's exactly, to me, what SEC Media Days has become. Yeah, you got a couple nice things in there. It's not bad. It's not good. I think we're trained to drink it, if you will, eat it prior to your big hibachi meal, prior to all the vegetables and the rice and whatever you get. But it gets you going. It gets you going. But I do wonder, actually, and this is what I meant about thinking out loud as I'm talking about it, the majority of you listening are South Carolina fans. Not all. Some are Clemson. Some are I've seen more Miami fans on our text line. Some are Georgia, whatever. Will you be interested in SEC Media Days after Monday? Because this kind of occurred to me as I was opening the segment and talking about it. South Carolina goes on Monday. They go at 11:45. Again, we'll have it for you right here. Shane Beamer goes at 11:45. You get Greg Sankey before Shane Beamer. Greg Sankey's, I think, going to be interesting. He's got a lot of topics to address. Maybe we'll hear something a little bit on future scheduling, where they stand with 8 versus 9, what he thinks about the college football playoff, what he thinks about the league in general. That'll be kind of boring. But, where are certain things that Greg Sankey wants to take? He'll always open with how great they are. But again, remember, it's not that the SEC hasn't won a national championship in 2 years. It's that in the last 2 years, the SEC hasn't played for the national championship. That is really, honestly, given what the SEC has done really this century. I'll just back it up this century. But what the SEC's done this century, that's like that's the equivalent of a 10-year drought. If we're being honest, the SEC's trying to bang their chest and say, hey, look at us over here. Look at us. We're the best. We're the one that rules college football. We're the kings. Hey, Big Ten, bow down over there. We run this, whatever we have here, college football, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it a conference. You want to call it divisions. You're all under our reign. But the Big Ten has won the last 2 national championships. And again, the SEC hasn't played for the national championship. Hasn't even had a team in there for 2 years. And you go, well, Bill, that's 2 years. Come on, that's 2 years. Well, again, look at the dominance of the SEC this century. 2 years for the SEC might as well be the equivalent of a 10-year drought. Not even playing in the national championship game. Michigan and Washington last year, obviously Ohio State and Notre Dame this past season. So, that ain't good. But will Greg Sankey get up there and again talk about look, it's football, right? 14 teams in the NCAA basketball tournament was phenomenal. Whew. Strong conference. Baseball, phenomenal. Strong conference. Hey, buddy. Hey, Greg. Your football teams are not playing for national championships. They're not winning national championships. They're not playing for national championships. So how does he address that? That'll be fun. But I go back to the question I asked you, like on Monday. Are you done after Monday? Or you're like, I've heard all I need to. That's good. Heard from Greg Sankey, didn't say anything. Heard from Shane Beamer, didn't say anything. Heard from the players, cool. I'm out for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm good. Don't need to hear from Lane Kiffin. Don't need to hear from Brian Kelly. Don't need to hear from Mike Elko, the exciting Mike Elko. Billy Napier, don't want to hear from him. Kirby Smart, oh boy, don't want to hear from him. 803-404-6100. Is that how you will approach SEC Media Days coming up on Monday? But again, the Gamecocks will speak. We'll get to hear from all of them. You'll hear the Lenore Sellers. We might, by the time we start this program, I'm assuming Lenore Sellers will have entered the big ballroom where they put them in corners, and it's a media gaggle. But I wonder if we get 10 minutes of Lenore Sellers speaking. And I wonder what question he answers the longest. And we might joke about that coming up on Monday. Tyler Head will be back with me then. So we've talked about SEC Media Days. We've also talked about stadium rankings. USA Today putting out their stadium rankings. South Carolina checking in at number 6. I think initially when I read the article, I was like, 6 seems high. And then I started thinking about it more and more and more. And again, a lot of this is based on winning. When you're losing, your stadium not quite as intimidating. But when you're based on when you base it on winning, and the more I thought about it, South Carolina being at number 6, I actually think that might be low. I know. If you're not a fan of South Carolina, you think, Homer. What a biased schmuck that guy is. The South Carolina is the top 5 toughest venue, loudest venue in the SEC. Yeah, I'm kind of ready to defend that one. Winning helps. Winning is big. But I will give credit to Ray Tanner, to Chance Miller, to Charles Waddell, to everybody. I don't know who all is involved. The stadium, public marketing department, everything. The game day atmosphere. I got to be honest. And I've been to a lot of venues. I'm very lucky to have been to a lot of venues. I put South Carolina up there with right now. What they've done over there. Somehow they got me into I don't know, whatever the dude's name is, Waka Flock. I don't know. Rooster in My Rory and Grove Street Party. Great. I know rap songs now. Obviously the towels are incredible. The fireworks. I mean, it's something. Kudos to them. If you haven't been to a lot of environments, find me one out there where the entrance, at least the opening. I know if you're a Clemson fan, if you're a fan of another program, hey, good job. Your entrance and your opening is great. How about the next 60 minutes? Yeah, I got it. Well, they're starting to win. They're starting to win pretty handily, too. But I get it. The opening is not the end-all, be-all. The running out of the tunnel, the smoke, the caboose, cocky coming out of whatever. Yeah, I got it. It creates an environment. It creates an edge for the team, the home team. And South Carolina's actually done a really, really good job. A lot of y'all weighed in on your loudest moments at Williams-Brice Stadium is basically I might have to go back during the break and put this up as a poll question. I'm kind of interested. The majority of y'all seem to go A. Sanders punt return. Danny and a few others went with the Alabama game in 2010. I will say I remember that game really, really well. I remember everything about that game. Speaking of music, that was another one game. There was a particular song that played, and even now to the day, I associate that song with being in Williams-Brice Stadium. But there was a feel in that game. I didn't think that game ever got really loud. It wouldn't actually be probably in my top 10 moments of Williams-Brice Stadium being loud. Part of it is because when South Carolina actually won the game, everybody tried to storm the field, and running over hedges and running to midfield and screaming and yelling, a little more difficult than I think most realize. But, yeah, that was – I don't remember that being a loud game. I think there was an anticipation that South Carolina was going to blow that game, even up 35-21 with like 2 minutes to go. I know that's how I felt. Can't speak for all. Maybe I'll have a lot more confidence in that situation than I did. But I didn't have a lot of confidence. I think we were all sitting on pins and needles. I remember that game being that loud. Keith actually said the touchdown catch that Garcia threw when we beat number 1 Alabama. There was a couple in that game. Remember the one he threw one to Marcus Lattimore? He threw one down the sideline, probably the one Keith's referring to Alshon Jeffrey, and Garcia's out there pointing at both sides of the stadium. That was a good moment. But, again, I don't know if I would deem that loud. Another texter weighs in, Georgia 2012 was the loudest I remember. The A. Sanders moment, I think would be the loudest that I've ever heard. Well, I take that back. The second loudest happy moment. The second loudest was, again, when Derek Watson scored against Florida in 2001. And that stadium that night, the blackout, everything going on, game day had been there. People had to tailgate for an extra 45 minutes because we weren't used to being the primetime 7:45 game on ESPN. So people lost track of how they were supposed to tailgate and where the inebriation factor was supposed to be at certain times. That was loud. And I think it was Lito Shepherd dropped the punt. South Carolina pounced on it. 2 plays later, it was Derek Watson around the left end. He's throwing air punches. We're all hooping and hollering and screaming. And then about 45 minutes later, it was a train wreck of a game. And then you had Steve Spurrier saying something to the effect of the black jerseys were either a funeral or they helped us see the football better. It ended up poorly. Georgia game did not. But you can continue to weigh in on those if you want to do so this afternoon, 803-404-6100. Matt weighs in and says, not talked about a lot, Alabama's 2019 fake field goal before it was called back. Yeah, that was a pretty loud, but again, top 3 or 4 is up there. Trying to read this one. This is Billy from Blythewood who says Nebraska 86. At that time, the East Upper had a student section. They were the ones causing the upper deck to sway. So not only did the university move them down lower after the game, they also barred the band from playing Louie Louie, which I have been on a campaign, and maybe it's about that time to crank that campaign up. I think they did play Louie Louie last year. Somebody told me that and I missed it, or maybe it was 2 years ago. It is time to unban, to let it go. It's time for that band over there to play Louie Louie. I remember one time on Twitter we had Louie Louie Guy. I don't know whatever happened to him. Hope he's okay. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so. I'll continue. Keep sending those in. KT from Lexington trying to confuse me. Not hard to do, so I can do it on my own. He says, good morning, Bill. Well, it's afternoon. I'm getting the hang of this. Ace's kick return for a touchdown against Georgia was probably the loudest. And again, that's what I would go with as well. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Brian Edwards, if you've listened to the morning show before, you know that he was a staple on the program. He'll be a staple here on the afternoon program. He joins us. We're going to talk some Heisman candidate odds. What does he think about Lenore Sellers' odds? We'll take some games early on in the season he particularly likes, and we'll talk a little bit about season over-unders. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Captain David Dare. It is the Halftime Show. 2:16 on a Friday afternoon. We've cut down on the mistakes substantially over the last 4 days as we're starting to remember. We were working in the afternoon. I am starting to remember. I'm working in the afternoon now. I'm slowly cutting down on saying we're in the morning and saying the early game. I am in the halftime show now. Tyler Head off the rest of the afternoon, but he will be in Atlanta on Monday when we start SEC Media Days. And speaking of something we always do in the morning, our good buddy, Brian Edwards, VegasInsider.com, MajorWager.com. You need to make it part of your daily reading, especially as we are getting closer and closer to the start of college football season. Brian, welcome in. New time. I think we're going to be able to make this one work a little bit better.
Yeah, I like the new time, Bill. Thanks for having me. Hope you're having a good summer.
Having a great summer so far, and but I am ready to start seeing some college football coming up on the Saturdays, the Fridays, the Thursdays, and then we get later into the season, the MACtion and Sun Belt Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that all leads us to a preferred pastime of many around here, looking for winners, Brian Edwards. And it's getting, how do you do your research? When is it you really start digging in? Is it something you start back in April or May? Or how give everybody a little explanation on how you really start to dig in on looking, especially for the first part of the season?
Well, I do some research that early April, May, but I really like to get my magazines where I can, especially the Phil Steele one where he's got room at the bottom of each page for you to write notes. And, so every time I'm talking on the radio with you or whoever else, and you start asking me about South Carolina and Vanderbilt or whoever, I can just go to their page and I've got all my notes from the preseason. So I've got Phil Steele's national unit rankings at the top of each page. I got their season win total, their odds to win the SEC, and then I go through my initial wins, losses, toss-up games or coin flip games, and I've got their recruiting numbers down on the bottom, and for Vandy, right now, I've got July 3rd FanDuel, Diego Pavia was 150 to 1 in the Heisman. So just little notes like that I've got for every team, and then when somebody has a season-ending injury, they've got all the depth charts, and mark somebody, put a mark by his name, that means he's gone for the year.
Let me ask this, in terms of Vegas and your theories on this now, the transfer portal, everything that's kind of changed in terms of being able to prep and prepare earlier. Is it earlier now in the season that you want to try and hit everything correctly because Vegas is going to figure it out, or does it become more towards the end of the year when the gambler has been able to figure it out?
Well, the earlier the better, but you also want to make sure, you're studying the right information, because a lot of times guys will transfer and show up in January, and then halfway through spring practice, they're out of there and they're on to another school. And, so you got to be on it. It's a lot more to keep on top of for sure. But, yeah, you want to be earlier, ideally, because, a lot of these win totals, for instance, I was just looking at Illinois. You can't even get it at 7.5 anymore. Well, maybe there's some books, but I'm looking at FanDuel in Illinois. I've already bet them over 7.5, but it's up to 8.5 now, which I actually still like it because it's plus 146 on that over. But that's the reason why you want to be early, is because these lines will move. Right when the DraftKings games of the year came out, I thought LSU and Florida were the most undervalued teams. And every game that those guys had lined for Florida and LSU, the line has moved against both of those, except for Florida is still 10.5 against FSU. But they were 5.5 to Miami. They're now 3.5 at FanDuel and 4.5 at DraftKings. So the lines have been moving against LSU and Florida, and it would have been ideal to get those numbers early.
Well, let's get to some of the ones you like, specifically in the SEC, and there's two that you instantly, I guess, pointed out that you like. Let's start with those. One will be Vanderbilt. One will be the Florida Gators. Give us an explanation for why you like Vanderbilt over 5.5 and why you like Florida over 7.5.
Yeah, so with Vandy, I'm sure a lot of people will think it was a fluke last year, but when you look at what they did last year, they only went 3-4 in one-possession games. I mean, they lost a double overtime game at Missouri where they missed the short field goal to force triple overtime. They missed a 50-yarder at the end of the regulation, would have won it. They lost at Georgia State when they were up by 4, and Georgia State they were up by 3, and Georgia State threw a 35-yard touchdown pass with 12 seconds left. So, and they bring back 8 starters on defense from a defense that gave up 23.4 points per game, which is not elite, not top 30 in the country, but for Vandy, that's elite. I mean, 23.4 points per game. They usually give up 35 to 38. And then there's just Diego Pavia, man. He is the it factor, 20-4 TDI and T ratio last year. Also 801 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. They've got Eli Stowers back. Many of the preseason publications have him first-team All-American and, you know, the best tight end available in the draft. Next year, Phil Steele's national unit rankings have them ranked 4th in special teams, number 19 at linebacker. They've got their top 3 tacklers back. And you look at the schedule, Charleston, Southern, Georgia State, and Utah State at home. I think those are all 3 wins. I think they beat Kentucky at home as well. So that gets us to 4. I think they've got a good chance to win at Virginia Tech. I'm not saying for sure on that one, but Missouri and Auburn at home are also very winnable. In fact, Diego Pavia is 3-0 against Hugh Freeze with a combined score of 97-31 and beating the closing lines by 124 combined points, as Pavia has beaten Freeze by double digits all 3 times as a 26-point underdog, a 24.5-point underdog, and a 7.5-point underdog. Now, some books have Vandy at 4.5, heavily juiced to the over. I'm fine with either, but over 5.5 is plus 140. I think they win at least 6, possibly 7.
Okay. All right. Let's stay in the SEC. You like Florida over the 7.5?
I do. Now, anytime you're betting an over, and certainly with Florida and Vandy, this goes, you know, it's all about the quarterback staying healthy. So we need Lagway and Pavia to stay healthy. But, look, Florida, this is Napier's best team for sure. They get Eugene Wilson back, who was their second-best receiver as a freshman in 23, but he had a season-ending injury after 4 games last year. Lagway, his stats don't really pop off the page, but if you watch him, his elite arm talent does, and he went 6-1 as a starter last year, and the only loss, Florida was ahead by 7 and had the ball late in the second quarter against Georgia when he left the game. You know, just in terms of personnel, I think Phil Steele's national unit rankings have them 5th on the O-line, 10th in the secondary, 10th at quarterback, which I don't think is high enough, 14th at running back, 18th receiver. They really don't have a position group that's that weak. The lowest rated by Phil Steele is 25th at linebacker. And the schedule is difficult, but with the exception of South Florida, LSU, and Texas A&M, every other opponent on the schedule is breaking in a new quarterback. I think Florida is going to go 9-3 if Lagway stays healthy. And I like them also -3 to Tennessee in games of the year. They are 17-3 straight up, 15-5 against the spread the last 20 against the Vols, who have not won in Gainesville since 2003.
A couple from the Big Ten, and that's an interesting one to keep an eye on with Florida. A couple from the Big Ten. You mentioned Illinois. Real quick, just what is it about Illinois that you like? I know you mentioned it's you got it at 7.5. It's up to about 8. But what is it, real quickly, that stands out to you about the Illini?
Well, they won 9 in the regular season last year, and they've got 9 starters coming back from a good defense that gave up only 21.7 points per game. Their top 5 tacklers back. Luke Altmaier, 22-6 TDI and T ratio last year. They got all 5 starting offensive linemen back, and I think the schedule works. And then Indiana, over 8.5. Kind of like Vandy, it wasn't very fluky last year. I mean, they were plus 2,211 in net yardage, and 10 of their 11 wins were by 14 points or more, and the schedule, once again, works for Indiana. The only guaranteed losses I have for them are at Penn State and at Oregon. I think every other game is winnable, and they might be favored in every other one of their games. So over 8.5 for the Hoosiers, and that's a little bit of small plus. It was plus 124 a week or so ago at FanDuel.
All right, that was for Indiana, not Illinois. Did I miss that?
I did both of them. Second one, Indiana, over 8.5. Illinois, might get it at 7.5, heavily juiced to the over, or over 8.5 with a nice plus on the over.
So right now, if you're following along, Vanderbilt over 5.5 wins, Florida over 7.5 wins, Indiana 8.5, and Illinois over 8 right there. All right, we will bring you back on in August and get these games of the year. But quickly, if you're looking to if you're looking to follow and take a long shot on a Heisman, let's talk about some Heisman odds real quick. Oh, I tell you what, let me go back real quick. In the message you sent to me, you're not crazy about the South Carolina win total, but what's your thoughts on the South Carolina win total right now, aside from the fact that you are not taking it?
Well, so 7.5 under -130, over is plus 106. I marked them 5-1 with 6 swing games, and I really feel like the swing games are legit swing games. I mean, at Missouri, Oklahoma at home, which I lean South Carolina in that one. I'm just I don't know about Missouri's quarterback. I need to watch Pabula play. So I'm not going to have an opinion on that until I see him play a few times. Alabama at home, the Gamecocks are plus 7.5 in games of the year, but that's a very winnable game. At Ole Miss, I would probably lean Ole Miss a little bit there because that's also coming after. That's the fourth game after the Gamecocks are at LSU and Oklahoma and Alabama at home. That's a tough 4-game stretch. I would lean Ole Miss there. At A&M, I got it a swing game, but I would probably lean A&M there. And then plus 5.5 at home to Clemson. I would probably lean to South Carolina winning that game, even though they're a 5.5-point dog. So a lot of true swing games. I think that South Carolina is going to be very good if Sellers is healthy. You got to get – what's the latest on the running back out of Utah State, Rashul Faison, because he is an absolute stud.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that's almost all we've talked about this past week is the fact that there is no news on him, and it's dragging.
Yeah.
And we're kind of I got to admit at this point, and we're sitting here at 2:27 on a Friday. I'm expecting some if Shane Beamer doesn't get an answer by about 11:45 on Monday when he takes to the podium at SEC Media Days, he may have some pointed direct words toward the NCAA and what they're doing.
Good.
But, yeah, that's where that stands. Real quick, before we get you out of here, about 2 minutes, Heisman thoughts. I saw you have Sawyer Robinson as a long shot. You looking to make some money? $100 on Sawyer Robinson, 80-1 odds would win you $8,000, maybe worth a long shot. But your thoughts on some Heisman odds?
Yeah, maybe make it $10, not $100.
Hey, if you're going to win big.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, whatever people are comfortable gambling. But, yeah, I like Lagway, DJ Lagway from Florida, 18-1. Sawyer Robertson, 80-1 at Baylor, and Haynes King, 90-1 at Georgia Tech. I'm high on Georgia Tech this year. Haynes King, 14-2 TDI-INT ratio last year and 11 rushing touchdowns. Sawyer Robertson, Baylor's going to be really good this year. He had a 28-8 TDI-INT ratio last year. And a lot of people forget he's got his top 2 receivers back as well. A lot of people forget, he was Mike Leach's guy. That was going to be Mike Leach's quarterback of the future in Starkville had he not tragically passed away. And last thing, back to the Cox, I know we're running out of time here. You guys lost a lot of dudes up front. I mean, fortunately, you got Dylan Stewart back, but I thought y'all had one of the top 3 or 4 D-lines in the country last year, and y'all lost a lot of those guys. So I know you got to have some young guys up front. We'll see. That's another reason why I'm not playing South Carolina's season win total. I just want to see how some of those young guys play up front, early on.
Brian, we appreciate your time. Definitely will have you back in a few weeks and start looking at some games. I know there's games of the year that you want to go ahead and take. We'll get to those when we have you back on. Always appreciate it. Make sure you check out VegasInsider.com and MajorWager.com. Make it part of your reading, and we look forward to catching up with you in the very near future.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, man.
You too. Take care. Brian Edwards. You can also follow him at Vegas B. Edwards on Twitter for his thoughts and talk with him there. We'll come back. We will get back into a little bit of football discussion. Hot seats. Oh, hot seats, more list. We'll talk about that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 2:35 as we slowly start to wrap up the Friday afternoon show. Hope you're doing well out there, Bill Gunner. Captain Dave Adair. We're gonna put Dave to the test next week. We're gonna start questioning him on music. It's gonna be Stump the Dave again. I hope he's ready. We're gonna give him 48 hours over the weekend, maybe a few more, counting having a start time of noon, but 48 hours to prep accordingly. Larkin Poe. I need to study them a little bit this weekend to come up with questions.
Yeah.
Is that yeah? Okay. All right. Now, how old is that band? Is it a band?
Yeah, it's a band.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, how old are the women in it?
They have women in the group?
Yeah. I mean, the front of the band is two sisters. Yeah. Megan and Rebecca.
And their last name is Larkin Poe or Bo?
No, their last name is Lovell.
Okay. All right. See, this is the kind of information you won't get anywhere else.
Rebecca signs her autograph REBL. Rebel.
Okay. Well,
What's the nickname of Megan?
I didn't know two women were in the band, so.
Slide Queen. She's the Slide Queen.
All right, folks. From now on, from 2 to 3, we're going to designate this the adult hour. Have to get that past Tyler Head, but yeah, we will play some episodes of Stump the Dave, and we'll start with some Larkin Poe information coming up next week. Also next week, again, reminder, we will be in Atlanta. I won't get to hang around here, which is nice, but we're going to send over Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jay Phillips, and Terry Ford, the Wolf Pack known as the 107.5 The Game Group. If you see them on Sunday heading down I-20 in the 107.5 The Game Batmobile, just give them a thumbs up. Just a thumb. Don't give them the other finger. Just a thumb. Don't. Not nice. Other kids could see it. Tyler and Elijah are young kids also. We don't want to show them that everybody's nasty out there. So if you see the 107.5 The Game Batmobile cruising down I-20, make sure you give them a thumbs up or tell them to honk the horn. Give them that old school trailer, whatever, trucker honk the horn thing, and I'm sure Terry will go beep, beep. So, anyway, keep an eye out for that. And we look forward to a lot of great coverage next week. A lot of fun interviews lined up, by the way, so you're going to want to listen throughout the day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. As, again, we will have a lot of great content. And reminder, we will be carrying the Shane Beamer press conference, tentatively set to go at about 11:45 Monday morning. So if you're traveling and you don't get to a television, guess what? You can hear it right here. And reminder, as always, you can download the 107.5 The Game app. Just go to your app store, wherever that may be. Too many phones out there now for me to figure it out. But go to your app store and download, again, the 107.5 The Game app. You can take us anywhere. Listen to us anywhere. I believe it was Clemson Tom just a little while ago who called in, was listening via the streaming on our app and laying poolside down in Florida as he gets ready for Morgan Wallen tonight and tomorrow night. 803-404-6200 if you hear something you want to weigh in. So CBS Sports earlier this week put out their ranking of the hot seat. Now, the way they do it is with a scale, 0 to 5, and 88 out of the 136 coaches receiving a composite rating got between 0 and 1.99. That means they are safe and secure. Doesn't matter. Now, Shane Beamer's in that group, right? We all agree Shane Beamer is in that group perfectly fine. I have said there is pressure on the year. Pressure and being on the hot seat, two entirely different things. He is at a 1.11, and it points out with him. So that is very, very secure. Feels very good with where he is at, and good for him. Again, pressure in an entirely different way. For those wondering, Ryan Day, usually defending national champion coach, national championship coach Ryan Day is at a 0.89, so I feel pretty secure. And Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, runner-up, who seems pretty secure, is at a 0.11, so he's right there with Shane Beamer. So what CBS Sports is telling you is that Shane Beamer's security level, same level as the guy who just lost the national championship game. So good news for him. Now you go to, let's say, who has the lowest rank. There's 9 coaches. There is 9 coaches on this thing that are deemed in the win some games or you're not back in 2026. It's led by Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Actually, I think this is just alphabetical. Sam Pittman at Arkansas. It says, if you just want to sit around, shoot the bull, and have a beer, Pittman is your guy. Very true. Very true. This salt-of-the-earth coach is one of the most beloved figures in the profession, but his winning percentage rules all, and the hyper-competitive SEC 2023's 4-8 mark doesn't cut it. That's tied for the program's worst record since 2013, I didn't know this, by the way, because there was that Chad Morris debacle, but the worst record since 2013, it's beyond coincidental that the last coach to win big at Arkansas, Bobby Petrino, was hired as offensive coordinator. So that's kind of what it says here for 2020. And by the way, he lowered, I read it incorrectly, I read it backwards. His 2025 rating is as bad as it can get, 5. His 2025, it's not good. It's not good there. So that's for Sam Pittman. For Billy Napier is on the list. There's a couple of SEC coaches here, and you're going to be like, yeah. Billy Napier's has risen or has gone down just a tad. It went from 4 last year to 3.67. Deal with the points as you will. This is what it was said per last year. It just hasn't worked for Napier to this point. The Gators went 6-7 in 2022 with Anthony Richardson, 5-7 in 2023, and the grumblings grew louder. Napier appeared to be exactly what Florida needed when he joined from Louisiana in 2022, but he's walked a tightrope now. The Gators' schedule still one of the nation's toughest and one of the most difficult of all time. We'll see kind of where he goes, but his 2025 rating down just a tad from 4 to 3.67. A few more. Clark Lee last year had one of the highest ratings. I'm just throwing him as an SEC coach. Has jumped significantly. Last year, Clark Lee's rating was 4. Again, this thing goes to 5, so you can kind of see where his was very high up there. His went to 20 in 2025. This year, 1.78 is where he's at. So Clark Lee, not bad. He'll make it another year regardless of what happens. A few others to get to here. I was looking for it had Brent Venables on here, and I'll have to go back and find that. But you look at these hot seat ratings, and what stands out to me, and where I was going with this, because we've talked about it a lot more, is the pressure on Shane Beamer is not from a standpoint of, are you going to be fired? Are you going to be in trouble? Is there anybody that's going to really get upset? It is, the pressure is there to now take the next step with South Carolina football. South Carolina in 3 years, in the last 3, 8-5, 9-4. You throw out another 9-win season. You take that on the recruiting trail. Again, it sounds like tonight they're going to lose Samari Matthews to Texas, and that's where winning those battles enhances the talent on your roster, enhances the competition, and moves you forward with what they're trying to accomplish. And that is a perennial 9-win team, a perennial 9-win team where you win 8 games and you're like LSU. We're not pleased with that. You win 10, and everybody's like, man, great year. And when you win 9, people are like, all right, that's steady. We can hold firm there. And then we have that big year where you go in and get yourself into the college football playoff. And again, we all agree this thing's going to grow. It's going to go from 12 to 16. So I think you will hold your coaches at elite program. Well, definitely at elite programs, but even at a tier below, you will hold them more accountable for what they're trying to do and where they stand at the current time. So just some coaching hot seat numbers. We'll wait for more of those. I'll get to more of those next week with Tyler. I want to have that discussion with him because, again, CBS Sports has their rating out of all 136 coaches, and you hear what I said about Shane Beamer. Interesting one, Rhett Lashley, just getting SMU to the ACC championship game and then getting into the college football playoff. His is .78. So you can see what kind of winning does for you at different levels. Just for those of you who want to know, where's Dabo Swinney at going into what is a really big year for him? Dabo Swinney, one of the most secure coaches in the country, .22. But I do wonder if they don't win the ACC championship, if they don't, let's just hypothetically say, I think they will, but they don't get to the college football playoff, you wonder if that .22 rises significantly because of the way college football has transitioned. 803-404-6100. That's how you can win. We'll come back, wrap up the final segment of the Friday show. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Final segment of the program. It's been a lot of fun. Look forward to all of us being back together next week. Dave will be with me here. Tyler will be in Atlanta, and we will continue to provide you the best quality content that we can do as we look to move this program forward. Again, Brian Edwards of Vegas Insider and MajorWager.com, big thank you to him for joining us today, and he will be a weekly part of the program to either go with or fade against his picks. You can decide in a couple weeks into the season, but look forward to having him back. Very knowledgeable, very informative, and he does a great job. Also, we will have Hale McGranahan, who joined us early on from time to time, to give us some recruiting updates as, again, South Carolina tonight trying to get the commitment of Samari Matthews, defensive back out of Charlotte. Unfortunately, sounds like Texas may be the call for him. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These are the guys you got to land to continue to win 9 games and to build your program. I'm not blaming Shane Beamer. I'm not saying, oh, this was a failure, but you got to win these things. You have to win these battles. Bryce weighing in. The window is firmly open for Carolina to take the step forward to a standard of 8-9 wins a year. QB play is everything. And again, Landon Duckworth set to make his decision a week from today, and that would be a good pickup. And then you go, all right, Aaron Nolan, Cutter Woods, Landon Duckworth, get in there and battle it out. Again, we're under the impression that Lenore Sellers is going to have the year that he wants to have and goes on to the professional game. But we'll see. A lot to figure out between now and the end of November. 803-404-6100. One of the staples of this phenomenal country we live in is butchering the national anthem, of people either not taking it seriously or thinking, I got an idea and this will be a good one. Well, the Baltimore Orioles did that this week. And I'm going to make you listen to all of it. Now, one, we're going to be patriotic, Captain Dave. We're going to play the national anthem for you. And I'm going to encourage you to listen to all of it. But this is the Baltimore Orioles. Now, it was a day game. And unfortunately, because radio is an audio medium and you can't see the looks of the players and some of the fans, you're going to have to look it up later. But here is the Baltimore Orioles this week coming up with their idea on, hey, I got a good idea. Here's the national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. All around parts we watched were some gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the still there. Our sailors, that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let me tell you, there wasn't many people applauding. You caught a couple there. Yeah, that was. I guess it's vote. This is something the kids do. Hey, kids, like, stop this. But is there an issue? We started the week on Tuesday. We got into the Chicago Cubs kind of messing around with the 7th inning stretch, which is a big deal up there in Chicago. And it was home. You know, that's I would assume now that I say this out loud that they are the home of the 7th inning stretch because of Harry Carey back in the day and the way he would do it. And maybe it wasn't the most vocally pleasing to the ears, but it was a tradition. Can we just go easy on the national anthem and not try and change? I don't want to say it's not the lyrics, although, by the way, for those of you wondering, when he said, oh, you get the point, Baltimore Orioles. But in a situation like this, can we not just have somebody do it? Are we trying to, like, upset people with the national anthem? And by this I also mean, hey, if you're in a marketing department and you want to go out on a limb and have, like, you know, Carl Lewis or, you know, was it Roseanne Barr who sang it? Like, can you maybe have them do a tryout? Maybe see if they're able to sing the national. Maybe see if they're able to sing. Just start with Old McDonald. Just start with Old McDonald, and if they can hit that, move them up one more level. And if they hit that, then send them out for a national anthem. But coming off the 4th of July weekend, the fireworks on the lake 2 weeks ago, can we not desecrate the national anthem by having some guy, what is it, beatbox or voice box? I can't even remember the name of what the kids called changing your voice when you're trying to do something like this, because that's brutal. That's absolutely brutal. And it's kind of a desecration of our national anthem. I probably am finishing up this show with a way too serious topic. But, yeah, I blame all this on Terry Ford, by the way. Baltimore Orioles. I mean, Orioles. Come on, guys. Let's think, and women. Let's think about what we're doing. So if you survived that, be appreciative of the national anthem. That's a PSA from Bill Gunner on the halftime show. Wrapping it up. Several of y'all still weighing in on some of the moments there. Allen says, ask Preston, the final drive by Petty to come back from 13 points down. Fourth quarter was the loudest WB has ever been. That was 2001, I believe. Phil Petty hitting Hart Turner. I was talking about the game the other day. That was a hot game there. That was a crazy inning. I was in the student section for that. I don't know if I'd put that as one of the loudest games ever. 803-404-6100. Brent weighs in. I've never seen more grown men crying at the same time until the end of the 2010 Alabama win. The stadium was swaying. I still don't think that was the loudest I've ever heard it. It was an incredible game. It was loud. I still have a couple in front of it. It's been a lot of fun this week. Captain Dave has joined us back on Thursday, Friday. He'll be all next week with me. Tyler Head will be in Atlanta. We're going to bring you the best content that we physically can on this program. Y'all have a great weekend.
Post-game show. Terry Ford. Kale's here. Dave's watching Kale. Make sure Kale hits the right buttons. But, I'm sitting here. I said, Jay's out. It's Friday before SEC Media Days. It's kind of like, we're in a little bit of a laid-back spot. Kale, come on in here and punch the buttons. And if you screw it up, oh, well, just, it's okay. Nothing's going to explode, we don't think. But if it does explode, then, well, it'll come out of any money you make here. So we're going to have Kale kind of like steer the ship for us. Dave's standing behind Kale. Way too close, by the way, just saying, Dave. It's a little close, a little creepy. If you see it on the video, it's a little weird. And, speaking of video, there we go. I don't know. Anyway, we'll fix it. We'll fix it soon. At least everybody's in the picture now. It's a real wild, multi-dimensional look all of a sudden in the video. But we'll get it.